So we meditated for 45 or 50 minutes, and for you new people, I know that probably sounded a little crazy. I hope you endured okay. And for those that are new, this was just one form of meditation. The Buddha really taught, or as best we can tell, over 40 different meditations. And he put a special emphasis on the body. And this is a quote. There's one thing that when cultivated and regularly practiced leads to deep spiritual intention, to peace, to mindfulness and clear comprehension, to vision and knowledge, to a happy life here and now, and to the culmination of wisdom and awakening. And what is that one thing? Mindfulness centered on the body. It's a pretty powerful statement. And as a little background, and that comes from one of the suttas, or discourses of the Buddha. And for those who are here tonight for the first time, he taught for 45 years. He walked around and taught in northern India, the Nepal region, which today is Nepal and northern India. He taught to all classes, and 2,500 years ago, it was a very stratified society. But he taught these teachings to peasants, illiterate peasants, to kings, queens, and everybody in between. And he walked everywhere. He wouldn't ride in a cart. He didn't want to burden an ox or a horse or a donkey. And he spoke at wherever he stopped. And these discourses have been compiled, and they are in a number of books. There are hundreds of them. And they were first memorized by groups of monks and nuns. And certain groups would specialize in memorizing certain discourses. And eventually they were written down 300 or 400 years after that. And so we have some record of them. And so that little piece that I read has come forward these 2,500 years, first orally and then written down. The legendary Thai forest master, Ajahn Buddhadasa, he would always tell his students, do not do anything that takes you out of your body. Do not do anything that takes you out of your body. Feeling it's that important. And it's interesting if we think in an evolutionary sense, and I wonder what we were like before this frontal lobe grew so much and just thought and thought and thought. I mean, it's absolutely essential to our survival. Planning, worrying about stuff, trying to get everything in order, get it all right, or remembering past events. What can we learn from that? Great survival tool. But how much of our time now do we spend like not even being aware that we have this corporal thing that we've carried around since we came through the birth canal? You know, we can go for long periods of time without even feeling this body, unless it's screaming at us in some way because it's injured or it's in pain. So I'm really beginning to feel or sense this disconnection from the body is primary to a lot of the issues we have. This separation from this miracle makes it easier for us to feel separate from this earth, which we're so connected to. And we know the results of that. We can kind of plot where that's going. I imagine within the next 10 years, we're going to have accurate data and information that will describe our extinction. There's still some time. And this work that we do to bridge separation that we feel from our body, our hearts, our mind, our environment, is critical work. So, this word mindfulness, I think, we talk about it a lot here. And it's described throughout the Buddha's teachings. It's probably worth looking at it from a couple of angles as we begin to explore this mindfulness of the body. It's really the backbone of the Buddha's teaching, in a sense. And it's a special way of being aware of what's going on inside us and around us in the moment, through successive moments of perception. Mindfulness doesn't try to change anything. It's not actively manipulating. It's a non-interfering, non-judging attention. That's what it is. It's this fullness of presence. And maybe you had some feeling of that as we rolled through these various meditations. It truly, if we can be mindful, it makes the ordinary extraordinary. Whether we're mindful of eating something, or seeing, feeling the kind of wash of colors and forms, as our retinas are stimulated, sounds, touch, this miracle of being alive through the senses is really extraordinary. We might even be able to kind of give up our cable subscription if we paid attention to just what was coming through our senses. Maybe not, but. So mindfulness sees things as they are. In mindfulness, we're attempting not to override everything with concepts. And relationally, if we can begin to do that, that's really extraordinary. All the people in our lives that we know, our loved ones, our co-workers, etc., it's part of what we do is conceptualize who they are. Oh, here's this person, they are A, B, C, D, and E. It becomes a conceptual relationship. What if we took the moment to really just feel past that and see and experience the people in our lives fresh? Give them a chance to come out of that box. Another amazing miracle creature is in front of us. What would it be like? Wow. New. Feel them in all the ways that we can. Allow their expression to touch us. That's mindfulness. It's a step beyond the conceptual. The Buddha felt that this initial calm assessment of what's going on gives us a so much better chance to act skillfully when it's time to act. Just receiving the experience. Not and learning to renunciate that immediate reaction to what's happening. Just receiving, then speaking, acting, etc. It's that pause between the stimulus and the response. It's so beautiful. And it's mindfulness that offers that. You know, in terms of our lives, being mindful to what's happening, it's like a medical diagnosis. Before we act or operate, I mean, it's essential in medicine. You know, okay, what's going on? Let's feel it, and then we'll prescribe some activity or cure. So it's that great pause. So there's another way that I like to look at mindfulness. It's like what happens between two extremes. On one hand, there's phenomena that are going on inside us and around us. And we can fall into kind of suppressing it or avoiding it, not experiencing it, turning away from it, not feeling it. Oh, this is unpleasant, I'm going to turn away. There's suppression and avoidance on one end. And then on the other end is entanglement, where we just fall into it and we get so lost and we get obsessed. We can't stop thinking about it and we're going over and over and over. And sometimes it feels like we can almost do both at once. We're flipping back and forth. It's like, oh, I can't, get it away. I'm going to watch mindless TV or whatever. Just stop it. And then the next minute we're ruminating over and over and over and over. But somewhere in this vast middle is where mindfulness can have its play. Okay, what am I feeling? At night when some of us may move like zombies towards the refrigerator, we know it's not the healthiest thing to do. But I find if I can wake up for a moment and just notice, what's going on? Maybe there's a little anxiety. Maybe a little loneliness. But I can be with that. I don't have to stuff my face. Or at least I have a choice. I can watch it. And this practice a cornerstone of this practice is watching change. Everything that arises in nature passes. That's what will happen to all of us. That's what's happened to all the generations before. The flowers of the spring, our vegetable gardens. My lettuce, most of my kale, my arugula, it kind of grew beautifully. Then it kind of bolted, and now it's kind of browning out. And soon it gets turned under. It's the way nature is. And what the Buddha asked everyone, all the students, say, let's get in line with this. Let's take a look. Let's watch it manifest itself, whether it's inside us or externally. And so, how many thoughts have we had today? Zillions. How many emotions? We've been happy, sad, worried. We've been everything. Most days we get an incredible amount of emotional play. And the same in our body, all these sensations. We're feeling this, we're feeling that. Sometimes we're amazed. Those of us that are older, if you get out of bed and nothing hurts, it's like, oh my God, how could this be? And sure enough, later it's like, this or that, is talking to us. So, foundation of the practice is just watching change wherever it is, getting used to nature so we don't resist it so much and create even more suffering and pain in our lives. By being born, we get a bunch of it. Old age, sickness, death. It's just all the fine print we didn't read when we took this life. But here it's happening. You young people don't understand a lot of that yet, but you will. You'll experience it. So we're watching change. And this mindfulness, without trying to manipulate anything, that's our tool. We're just being with it. There's a line from James Joyce in The Dubliners, where he says, Mr. Duffy lived a short distance from his body. But that happens a lot to us. We can park our car and walk across the parking lot and get to our office or something and have no sensibility of what was going on in our body that whole trip because our mind was like spinning, just spinning. So between this avoidance, this aversion, and this total entanglement and being lost is this realm of mindfulness that these practices point us to learn a little bit and sensitize to what's that like. And now that all of science is telling us, hey, all you have to do is pay attention to yourself sitting, take your mind off all this worry and planning, etc., for just a few seconds at a time, and lo and behold, the actual physical, organic structure of your mind, your brain changes. Your body actually changes by taking a little vacation and simply paying attention to what's going on right now in your body. Sitting, walking, lying down, whatever it might be. It's a kind of a revolution in modern science. It's not a revolution to all those people who have been practicing for thousands of years, but it's great that this is being coded in scientific ways. The immune system gets pumped up. All these things we're finding out. It's great. So today we did a little bit of kind of a romp through ways of practicing in the body. We started off with a little body scan, a systematic scan. We did that for a little while. Then we did the contact meditation, which is a really cool meditation for when you're really agitated. Just noticing how you contact with the environment. And spending, pick out 4 or 5 ways that you contact. I used 5 there. And if you're alone and you're just activated, to the edge of your wits, and you're practicing, you can make notation out loud. It's like, if your truck's in the mud, you downshift all the way as far as you can. Grind it out. And then we did the floating awareness meditation. The Buddha talked about everything can be revealed if we pay attention within this fathom-long body. And then we felt the whole body at once, the aliveness. Basically feeling the miracle of this life. It's extraordinary. And the body can be a refuge. When we're feeling like we're getting overwhelmed, to come back and connect with the body. I had one meditation teacher always used to say, you know, you won't get overwhelmed if you can retain some connection with this body. And when you do get overwhelmed, think back, where was your connection with your body? Like it wasn't there. In those times when we're facing maybe a difficult relational interaction, or just this weekend, I was called away. A friend of mine died, I guess it was last Wednesday, up in New York. And I was asked on basically Thursday if I would come up and officiate at the ceremony at the crematorium on Saturday. And so myself and a monk, I was handling the proceedings, and there was a monk, Bhikkhu Bodhi. Some of us are studying his work now in a class. He was going to lead the chanting, and he's actually he's the world's foremost Buddhist scholar, period. That's it. And so there's a couple hundred people there, get ushered into this mausoleum at the cemetery in the chapel. And it's an old mausoleum, and all the vaults are stacked up, and the dates from the last century. It's kind of interesting, kind of dark. We're in the chapel, and I didn't know a lot of these people, and I'd never officiated at a cremation before. And so it was like I could feel myself getting anxious. Interacting with the funeral directors and the family. And I could feel myself getting an interaction. But my refuge was like, okay, feel this body. Feel my feet on the floor. Take some slightly exaggerated breaths. Just feel into this present experience of being alive, and then from that space, that calming, just launch into whatever was required at the time. So the Buddha talked about the 4 foundations of mindfulness, but the first one that he talked about was the body. And so, in any relationship or relational interaction, if we can remember to just rest back in the body while we're talking to somebody, we don't need to be like on the edge of our seats jumping to react and throw that pearl of wisdom. We can hang back, feel this body, and actually, as it turns out, what we then do say from that grounded place in this miracle of a thing tends to be more skillful than if we're just reacting, thinking about what we're going to say. We're all up here. It's like when the Buddha, in his Satipatthana Sutta, where he really outlines the course of practice, liberation, the whole enchilada, talks about this body and all the different ways to meditate with this body. The 4 elements meditation, the sitting meditation, walking meditation, etc. All of that. That was the foundation. That is really the foundation. And the more I study, that's the foundation for exploring some of these more insubstantial phenomena of the mind, of the emotions, which are also part of his tier of exploring experience and looking at how everything changes. But the body kind of holds it. So if we can learn little by little to kind of drop out of the coconut and just feel this body, everything can be revealed. So, the body, pay attention to it when you can. See if you can actually feel yourself walking to your cars, feeling the night air, a few degrees cooler than when you came in. The clothing, the muscles, this miracle. So, any comments, questions? So have a good evening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.